When I look at a plant, I see it for what's in front of me, what's going to be happening in 3 years, and what's going to be happening in 10 years. I'm thinking about the whole plant from start to finish. The idea that I would spend this many years in the garden never occurred to me. If that crinum went and that would stay, this goes, hack moves over. But that's going to be it. I'm finished with this garden. It's probably one of the most important steps of my entire life because it is leading to the last part of my life. We're working with nature, figuring out what nature needs on the 12th floor of an apartment building.
This path is designed to be slightly dangerous, with stone that was recovered in excavation. It's sort of a Japanese-style path. I want to have the view be entirely garden. I think that my gardening style is to observe and think about it. The sense of play is as important as anything.
When I got involved with gardening, I nosedived right into it. It was instant obsession. I'm a child of the prairie, so I have a very romantic view of the sound of wind going through corn or wheat. I was attracted to all of the sloughs that were near where we lived. One of my teachers insisted that I go out into the woods by myself and collect plants. I learned about the cycles of plants and became really interested in them, only to find myself not anywhere near a plant years afterwards. It wasn't until we bought this house in 1967 that the garden suddenly arrested my attention. If you really think about what plants you're putting together, they just all work with each other and help each other. And then I can figure out how to get that layered look. And when it gets to maturity, I've got tons of stuff at the eye level. And that became a really important principle about gardens and gardening in my life. Where I want my eye to go and how I want to see them, those plants relating to each other in different seasons. One day I had a pure epiphany about the kind of garden book I wanted to write. The nerve I had to think that I could write a gardening book. And a publisher published it. I mean, it was like an unfolding miracle. I was led from writing garden books to editing a garden magazine. The garden was just there for me. You know, it was like bells going off in my head. I was doing it on the radio and in the newspaper column for 30 years. Then I started designing gardens, and I have been doing it right up until, well, a couple of weeks. Fountain shape that went this side, or we'd have something that we'd move over a bit. And a lot of Japanese maples really respond well to pruning. Thank you very much. You will be my last client ever. The thing that's great about gardening is that it's an art form that has time built right into it. And that's confusing, frustrating, and thrilling when you can figure it out. It's given me my livelihood, and it's led me into all sorts of levels of creativity I didn't even know I had.
There's quite a lot to learn about all these plants. We've done our best to prune things back, but actually I love being lost in the plants. I should have given more space. The rocks that we moved in are getting buried in the pines. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to get some sort of machine so I can lift these out and rearrange them. The rock here, we had a fairly big excavator to lift this in. So it's buried about 3 or 4 feet deep. As kids, we lived on the Scarborough Bluffs. We played very dangerously and we just ran wild. But I felt very comfortable in the landscape. These are some of my proudest possessions. They're incredibly beautiful. They must be millions of years old and from different eras. This could be a dinosaur turd. Yeah, when you look at these ones, I think it's some sort of crystals that have grown in the matrix of the mud. Most of this is a real mystery to me. How on earth did that come into being? Look at the composition of this. They may actually be little critters being compacted and then thrown up to the surface. All these different minerals and fragments of other rock. And they really are quite essential, I think, to gardening. These are like friends. I'm just as interested in the rocks in a garden as I am in the plants. I lived in Kyoto in the 70s. It was so incredibly different and quiet. It was still the vestiges of a medieval society. There are thousands of beautiful gardens, so there was years of observation. There was beautiful opportunities to sit quietly and look, which is what you do in Japanese gardens. That was an impetus to getting interested in design and getting into the garden. Because of the scope of the landscape, you can't go fast. You just walk down the street and suddenly there's a 1,000-year-old temple, with a beautiful little view. You really have to stop and look and then carry on. I think that's been my approach ever since, find the view. That was the first real garden that I ever did. We had a fabulous place to play with. That was quite a nice opportunity. I think we were all
fooling ourselves that we knew what we were doing.
I need a much better filing system.
After you do one place, you know, if it shows well, then you get more. There was a whole string of gardens in Toronto and other places. I've probably done about 20 or 30. I assume they're probably still there.
What I need is something to iron these. This is the back of a property, and it has a very small backyard. There's a pond here, steel pond, with continuous circulating water. So there's water, gravel, wood, green, and it's a contemplative garden. Despite the fact that immediately here it's all cars parked. But it's a totally different world. I don't think that I would be considered a Japanese garden master or anything. I've just had the good luck of being able to see them and observe nature and fool around with the ideas.
Gardening has been such a mental process for me all of these decades. I think gardening, I think plants, but I can't garden the way I have before because of falling down the stairs and taking so long to recover. I'm going to have to leave the garden. It never occurred to me that I would do it. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, I'm 86. I've got another good 10 years of being able to garden in some way. There are a lot of physical things I can't do, but I can think about it all the time. Maybe I'll write another book about leaving the garden. There is a baby.
Oh, yeah.
We could take it out
Yeah.
and just take a piece.
Yeah,
Because
let's
you can't get it anymore. Is anybody writing this down? Is anybody?
here.
All you young people have memories. We're going to need another balcony, for sure. It's like we're moving into the cave, and out there is all of this glamour and all the lights of the city. Between me and that is this little space. And I'm going to redo the space over and over in my head. Leaving the garden, I have no idea how this is going to affect the rest of my life. I don't feel like I'm abandoning it because I'm going to take some of it with me. And I'm going to put it on a balcony. And of course, now I'm being told, don't be ridiculous. None of these things will last on a balcony. And of course, I have this incredible faith in my plants that they will ignore that advice and survive somehow. So I thought what we could do is pretend it's the balcony. That's 20 feet.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wow. Oh, fabulous. You guys are so wonderful. When you're downsizing from a 4-story house into what is essentially a walk-in closet, I think in a way that'll be more intimate with each plant and be able to work harder to make it survive. It's going to be divine. Even without me, I know the plants will notice I'm not here. Who's going to talk to them? I bought it for a Christmas dinner decoration. I had them on the table. And I decided to put this in the garden to see how big it would get. And here it is. So it just shows what those little plants will do when they want to. It is perfect.
Our family had a beautiful cottage, and we spent a lot of time in the woods. It was quite wild. So that informed my view of the world. I'd been looking at Japanese gardens for 8 or 10 years. And then to go to see the Chinese gardens was really mind-blowing. It was Chinese Buddhism which influenced Japanese culture. With my client, there was no question about whether he'd do it or not. I'd present the drawings, they'd say yes or no. They want to do it, they do it. And you have to keep up with their expectations. There was no real plan. It just, came about. It was serendipitous, you might say. The creek wasn't even visible. So the first thing I did was say, we've got to get a crew in here and clear some views. We built the meditation hut and then the garden. All of these things sort of follow on from each other. We worked our way up the stream. It's only after quite a lot of consideration and observing the landscape for a year or two before actually building all the requisite parts. Lots of rocks, lots of trees, lots of water. It took us a few years to tame it. That pavilion, it's really landscape design. I knew it could be done from observation in Japan. But I wouldn't say that I'm a fine craftsman or fine carpenter. I think I'm a pretty good gardener. And you just play with it.
That's fantastic. Just let me get one more shot. Leaving home with Mom. We got to get out of here. I'll start weeping. My new kingdom. Right. We just got to make it so that they're safe for the winter. I want the red one back there, this one next to it. I don't need a lot of room. I can jam a lot of plants into a small space. That poor thing, it hates wind. What are the leaves going to look like in the wind, and how will they play off each other? All of those things that are fundamental to any kind of a garden. What I'll do is I'll stand out here and protect my plants. I think nothing else will. It might make the difference between life and death. And then what do I do? Get plastic plants?
Never.
Never.
In my case, a lot of it's just luck. I lucked into a lot of really interesting people. I've learned to make messes and fix them as well. The process is the fun part, as far as I'm concerned. I always make them as if I'm going to use them. This is a pretty big table. What I'm doing here is gnawing away at it to see how it feels.
I play with these from time to time because it's very good to let things ride for a bit. At least it's getting somewhere.
I'm 75 now, and I think I do still like adventures.
Going into the future, if one thing doesn't work out, I'll bloody well find another way of doing it. It is really important to think about it as an adventure. I have never been so high up in my life. No, I'm not ready for that yet. Gardening was the salvation in my life. I'm always going to be a gardener. I'll have to be dead before I stop.